Pushing the limits, whether for fun or as part of work, we sometimes take our bodies beyond what's natural for them. Humans didn't evolve in theme parks, jet planes or submarines, and yet we can survive in those extreme conditions. Survival is easier when, with some help from science, we can monitor what goes on in our bodies. Elliot is going to carry out a scientific experiment. He's going to wear a heart monitor which will pick up his heartbeats and show them on a screen on his wrist. He'll be able to check how many beats his heart makes in 1 minute. He's going to wear it on the Alton Towers ride Nemesis to see how his heart reacts. What he's got to do, if he can, is read off the numbers from the screen and call them out. So his pulse did go up from 68 beats a minute to 116. But the interesting thing is, most of the increase from 69 beats to 91 happened before the fast part of the ride, while he was still sitting comfortably going up the ramp. Just like these people on the Oblivion ride, his heart started beating faster, and he may even have started to sweat a bit without taking any exercise at all. This is caused by just thinking about what's going to happen and getting scared. Rides like these are deliberately designed to create this effect. The trigger for these reactions is a hormone called adrenaline, a chemical messenger produced by a gland in the human body.
Adrenaline is that hormone that is secreted when you're put under some kind of stress and the body has to react to it. Adrenaline is triggered by perceived danger. It's triggered by feeling, shall we say, slightly intimidated, by feeling as if you're putting yourself in a precarious position. That's when the adrenaline starts flowing.
Adrenaline is known as the fight or flight hormone. It prepares us to face up to what we fear, to fight, or to run away from it, the flight. It does this by raising the heart rate and diverting blood to the muscles.
The rush of adrenaline, generally speaking, in most people, makes you feel good. It makes you feel on a high. It makes you feel able to do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do.
The exciting effects of adrenaline can be seen on the faces of these people who've just come off a ride.
You know, the tears in my eyes. Yeah, I just had a cooked breakfast as well.
It was brilliant. All sorts of sensations, makes my eyes run. exciting.
Fantastic.
Rather fantastic.
Speechless.
Gives you a really big adrenaline rush. It's brilliant.
Didn't know what to expect. Every second of the way, it's like, oh, real great. Excellent.
In this hospital in Mexborough, Yorkshire, is the world's most advanced human simulator. It has a pulse, it breathes, and its eyes react to light. It also reacts to drugs and other substances just as the human body does. There's state-of-the-art monitoring equipment here that can show us exactly what happens when adrenaline kicks in.
One of the easiest ways of thinking about adrenaline is it raises your blood pressure, it raises your heart rate, it improves the oxygenation to your muscles. So what I'll do now is give the adrenaline and we'll be able to see on the monitors the effect that it will produce. We'll just give him a small dose to see what happens. Right, I've just given the adrenaline now, and shortly we should start to see the changes that produces. The pulse rate starts to increase, and the blood pressure increases as well. This is to enable the body to get more oxygen to the arteries around the muscles, so that the fight or flight response can occur. As you can see, the heart rate goes very quickly. In a minute or two you will see the effect start to reduce. As you come in at the finish of the roller coaster ride, and the pulse rate may then reduce back to normal a minute or two after you step off.
Roller coasters do subject the body to strong forces, but they're nothing compared with the forces felt by a jet pilot flying at 500 miles an hour. The Royal Air Force Red Arrow's display team experience these forces every time they fly, and they have to be able to deal with the effects on their bodies. Each of the 9 pilots has to be constantly aware of how close the ground is, where the cloud is, and where the other planes are, during a sequence of maybe 20 display moves. Flying this close, at these speeds, and moving in perfect coordination, really is pushing the limits of what the human body can do. And it makes massive demands on the pilots. But as if that wasn't enough, every time they make a tight turn, they experience increased G-forces. It's as if their weight was multiplied several times.
G-force is only experienced when the aircraft is turning. Here, sitting in this room, is exactly the same as you would be sitting in an aeroplane when it is flying along straight and level, 1G. As soon as the aeroplane goes into a turn, then you're almost like a snooker ball on the end of a piece of string. If you whiz that around, it gets heavier and heavier and heavier. Consequently, you are less free to move your move your body, everything weighs much more. So at 2G, your head weighs twice the weight. At 3G, 3 times the weight. So moving around is difficult. Clearly, your blood has a mass, and when you start pulling G, the blood naturally begins to drain away from the top of your body into the lower half of your body. Your brain needs to be fed with blood to work. Consequently, that is the dangerous area where if you pull too much G, you stop blood flowing to the brain, and then you're into the area of grey out and blackout. Guys can pull 4.5, 5.5, 6.5 G and sit there sustaining that, so you're in a very tight turn at 6.5 G, and the blood is draining away from your body, but your heart is just able to pump enough blood to the brain to keep it functioning. Then you can see the colour draining. You are not able to see in colour anymore. You begin to get tunnel vision, and you can play the G. Experienced pilots can do this quite readily. You see your vision coming into tunnel vision. If you go further than that, you get to blackout. Total loss of blood to the eyes first and foremost, and as soon as you back the G off, the blood comes back to the head, back to the eyes, and you can see instantly back in full colour.
The Red Arrow's Hawk jets are kept in perfect condition for the stresses they're under in the air. There's a whole ground crew responsible for that. And human bodies are not so different. They also need protection from the forces that act in very high-speed turns. There's not much room in a cockpit once the pilot's in there, so the protection has to be wearable. And it is a pair of trousers. Called G-force trousers, they go on over the pilot's flying suit. They have pockets in the legs. When G-forces get to danger level, the pockets inflate with air and squeeze the pilot's legs. This stops the blood from flowing down into the legs and keeps it in the top half of the body and, most importantly, in the brain.
Hi, Rach, you alright? Yeah, good.
With the simple protection of science in the shape of G-force trousers, the pilots can take their performance and that of their planes to new heights.
What we're now going to do is simulate the effects of 6 or 7G on a pilot, which I must stress is not wearing G-force trousers. And so the blood will disappear into his legs, the veins will dilate almost like balloons, and the blood pressure will be reduced from his head. So what we will see now, we will start to see the changes that happen.
In the control room, the manager of the simulation centre can produce the effect of an enormous drain of blood away from the chest and head and down into the legs. The effects come quickly, and they're very serious.
So already we're starting to see a drop in the pressure of fluid around his chest and head. His body's responding with an increase in pulse rate. And worryingly, of course, the blood pressure starts to drop. This may affect his vision, it may affect his consciousness. And when we get round, that number there starts to get into the 70s, and sometimes a bit lower, that is quite worrying. He may lose consciousness.
There are dangers in the sea as well as in the air. The forces at the bottom of the ocean are huge, though we can build submarines to protect us from them. But what happens if something goes wrong? Sometimes submariners have to escape in deep water without outside help. In an emergency, the submariner puts on an escape suit and gets into the submarine's escape hatch. One door of the hatch opens into the submarine and the other opens out into the sea. When the inside door is closed, the suit is filled with air. Then the hatch is flooded with water, till the pressure on the inside matches the pressure from the water outside. When the two pressures are equal, the outside door opens and the escaper is pushed upwards to the surface by the buoyancy of the suit. That escape took place here in Portsmouth, at the Royal Navy's submarine escape training tank. A tower of water like a colossal swimming pool stood on its end.
The building was built in 1954. It's 10 stories high. And in the centre of it, it's got a 30-metre tank, which is 6 metres in diameter. It holds about 1 million pints of fresh, clean water, and we use it to actually carry out our escape training.
These young men are in the Royal Navy, and they want to serve in submarines. In the first part of their training, they learn to do something very difficult.
In your own time, take a good, deep breath.
Normally, we instinctively hold our breath underwater. These trainees are forcing themselves to breathe out underwater.
Very good.
They have to learn to breathe out because they start their escape with compressed air in their lungs. As they rise to the surface, the water pressure around them gets less, so the compressed air expands, and its volume inside them gets bigger and bigger. If they don't breathe out all the way up, the result could be fatal.
Lie still, are you okay?
There's a doctor responsible for monitoring the health and safety of the trainees. He explains just what danger they could be in.
A diver who is breathing compressed air, or perhaps a submariner who is about to perform an escape, will have one lungful of compressed air inside them. This is the equivalent of a number of lungfuls at surface pressure.
There's a simple way of showing what can happen. An instructor takes a metal foil bag down to a depth of 30 metres. When he gets there, he puts compressed air in a bag.
When they escape, if they hold their breath, they will not allow the expanding air to escape from their lungs, and indeed before they hit the surface, their lungs will burst.
As the bag rises, the pressure of the water around it gets less and less, and the air inside starts to expand. For their second escape, the trainees go seriously deep, down to 18 metres.
Trawl 80 metre lock, pushing the flood the 80 metre lock. Flood the 80 metre lock. Okay guys, all happy? Yep. Ready?
Yeah.
Bed shut. There we go then.
With the airlock half flooded, the air pressure is increased to 4 times normal. This is a difficult time for everybody.
First man, stand by. Stand by, okay? Time is off, so it's nice and relaxed, legs forward, that's it.
When the pressures inside and outside are equal, the first trainee is ready to leave.
Ready? take a good deep breath.
Lie still, are you okay? Yeah. Turn to your left leg, take the ladder and climb out.
Coming up quickly from depth is no joke. It's important to make sure that the trainees haven't been injured in the ascent.
Okay, remove goggles, put them on forehead. Your name is? My brother. Your brother? No. Happy? Yep. Okay, go and turn straight forward.
They stand in line for 20 minutes, so an instructor can check that their balance and eyesight are okay, and particularly that their breathing is normal. But if a submariner or a diver does get into trouble, treatment is still possible. Here, the human simulator is a patient who's had a deep water accident. It can even give spoken answers to the doctor's questions.
One of the worries that divers have when they come up from depths is if they don't exhale as they rise in the water, the air in their lungs expands and expands, and the possibility is that the lung may burst. And the problem is some air gets into the chest, between the chest wall and the lung. That expands and it will push the heart and the lung out of the way. That can be very serious and lead into a cardiac arrest. We have a diver here who has just come in. How are you feeling?
I can't breathe.
Have you got any pain anywhere?
My chest.
Tim, would you like to give him some oxygen, please?
Can you help?
He's having trouble breathing. One side of his chest isn't moving very much. Worryingly, his windpipe has been moved to the side. That means this is a very serious situation. We need to give him some oxygen to maintain his saturations. What I must do is get the air out from between the chest wall and the lung. There's only really one way we can do that, and that is by using a needle through his chest wall. Sir, I'm going to have to place a needle into your chest, but that will help your breathing a lot. Okay? And we hear a hiss of gas as that comes out through the needle. And slowly he will find that his breathing will get easier. How is that feeling now?
Easier.
Is it getting easier?
Yeah.
What we need to do now is get a bigger tube into his chest to relieve that permanently. So we need to get a chest drain. Kim, could you go and get us a chest drain, please? We'll place that in his chest, and then the problem is solved.
You could say that humans achieve dominance in the world by pushing their limits, sometimes to dangerous levels. By itself, the body can't always adapt to the extreme situations we put it in. That's when we need a bit of help from real science.